You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jam.
IMHO Talk Show. Still here, still standing, y'all. You know we ain't going nowhere. We're going to make it do what it do, AA Ron, Patty.
Yes, sir.
Right here.
And Charlotte, we still have you online too. Feel free to chime in at any time. You know, stranger. Seville, hashtag Seville Inclusive Media. It's Charlotte from CT on the line. And, you know, tell a friend. Hashtag IMHO Talk Show. You know how we do, family. You know how to reach us. You can hit us there. IMHO Talk Show on all of our social medias. And we're about to do something real big, as promised. It's actually a pleasure to welcome our next guest, local businessman, entrepreneur, show host. The list goes on and on. He probably can more formally introduce himself, but we're joined by no stranger to Charlottesville Airwaves, Jerry Miller. Jerry, how you feeling today, sir?
I'm doing great. It's great to be here.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you for accepting the invitation.
Of course.
Yeah, because, like we wanted to have you on, as you know, because Charlottesville is a small city, but
sure.
As with everything that happens in Charlottesville, there and really anywhere, right, for that matter. Like you're gonna have divisions, you're gonna have factions, you're gonna have sides of town, you're gonna have, like whatever your demographic or your comfort zone is, right? Sure. So, Razor, and I and Max were talking about we should have Jerry. Right?
I'm glad.
Because let's be real about it.
Yeah.
Like, you may a lot of your audience we don't reach, a lot of our audience you may not reach, right? So but one thing that we do know is to open the lines is what we do at In My Humble Opinion. Is to be able to say, let's have them in, let's talk the way that we talk, and thank you for having us on your platform.
Of course.
As well. But let's just lay it out there because we are part of media, so we got to represent our constituents, right?
Sure.
That's how it goes. Let's get to it. So, so I kind of did a little introduction of you, but go ahead and dig a little deeper if you want. For those who may just know Jerry from I Love Seville show, may not know what got you to that point. Go ahead and tell us a little bit of the background.
Sure. First, I'm going to say I'm a husband,
Number one.
husband and a father.
Uh-huh.
The two most important people in my life, my wife and my little boy, who I think are listening to your fantastic program right now at home.
Awesome.
I am a businessman. I own 3 businesses in town. One's real estate investment. One's a podcasting network we're most known for. And then the advertising agency. I started out of UVA working at the Daily Progress, parlayed that into one of the youngest editors in the history of the Daily Progress. I was 23, running the high school sports department. Took that into a TV show on NBC 29 for 5 years. One TV show led to another TV show, both with my name on it, and a syndicated radio show 6 days a week, 3 states, 7 affiliates, almost 2 million people listening to us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Don't hurt him, Jerry.
Now I'm a businessman.
Yeah.
It's actually easier, believe it or not. It wasn't 13 years ago when I started this.
Yeah.
It was brutal 13 years ago.
I bet. Definitely experience is the best teacher, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. No customers for the first 6 months when I started this business.
How you been doing?
Took my life savings, poured it into the business, watched it go to almost zero. Then I found myself at the Panna Garden buffet with Ziploc bags. When people were not looking, I was scraping the food off my plate, putting it into Ziploc bags, and that was my food for 2 or 3 days, and my dog's food for 2 or 3 days. That's how tight money was.
And you were married with family then?
No, then I was single, thank God.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I'm about to say, you got a good woman.
Dude, the woman I was with then, she said, no way, dog.
I was gonna say,
Yeah, she said, no way, dog.
she not rocking with the Ziploc, Jerry.
No,
She ain't doing that, bro.
She had champagne taste, and I had an apple juice budget.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's funny.
So man, thanks for that further introduction. But without further ado, let's dig into our jobs, because I think that we agree that was the number one conversation we should have while we have it. Our jobs, our platforms that we have as IMHO Talk Show, and being on the only hip hop and R&B station, the number one in the area, as far as the urban talk show market and all that, and then having a great marketing campaign, having great businesses who look to you to be able to get their name and their logos out and whatnot. Sure. So we have people listening and watching and paying attention, Jerry. So let me start by saying, when you approach a show, who do you feel that you are speaking directly to?
I feel like I'm speaking to the community. The beautiful thing about media, if you utilize media and you're honest and you're from the heart and you're vulnerable and you're authentic and you're real, people will relate. And not everything I say on a microphone is going to speak to someone from an agreement standpoint,
Mhm.
but I can assure you, coming from my heart, it's what I believe is the truth. So anytime I get in front of a microphone, I'm committed to being honest to myself first, because I'm not going to say something in this microphone that in my heart I don't believe.
Mhm.
So that's my number one.
Gotcha. That's number one. Gotcha. Now, in saying that, let me preface the rest of this conversation by saying, like, so we're at the 100-year mark of the Tulsa, Oklahoma massacre. You guys have been seeing the news coverage on that. Like, so there's different commemorations and things of that sort going on for that. Right? I bring that up because, of course, we all know like the Charlottesville has its own history, you know, of race relations, racial atrocities and whatnot. And 100 years ago is really just a lifetime ago. Really. Like, there's still survivors from that, right? Like the history of Vinegar Hill that we talked about here is definitely recent history.
Sure.
Right. So I mentioned that because a lot of times, Jerry, and even if it doesn't come out of your mouth, like you'll see that a lot of people comment online and things like that. It could be people who may like support your side of the view versus someone else, like whether it doesn't matter like who the topic was about, whether
Sure.
it's Mayor Walker or whoever. Right.
I was hoping she would be on now.
Yeah.
I really wanted her to be
Maybe
on
we
with
can
us.
arrange that sometime.
Please.
But you know, but the point that I'm getting to is that like those things undoubtedly still affect the way that life is and affects our perspectives now.
Sure.
Yeah. So what's your honest, you know, on this platform, not doing it on your platform.
Yeah.
Like, what's your honest word to the folks who say, why everything got to be about race? Or like, why is this side of the community, like, why do they seem so upset? Why does the mayor or city council or different organizations care so much about mentoring Black kids or wanting to make sure that they have this and that? Like, why is it that that's such a lightning rod thing for Black people to be unapologetic?
Well, I think from a macro standpoint, first, the former president really put race in the news cycle and in the spectrum. And after 4 years with the former president, we realized we need to have really honest discussions about history that we need to have a come to Jesus moment about. And now from a micro standpoint in Charlottesville, August 12, 2017, I mean, we ain't even 4 years removed from 8/12. So we still fresh on 8/12. And I'll tell you, my building, the Macklin building on Market Street, next to the grocery store on 4th and Market, right next to Heather Higher Way, I was out there. My wife, and she's listening right now, she said, Jerry, promise me you're not going to go downtown on 8/12. I said, no, sweetheart, I'm going to go to ACAC. I'm going to work out. I need to get my pecs in check. You want me to have some nice pecs? I have no pecs. It never worked. I'm a medium from a shirt size. I'm not a medium. That worked. So I didn't go to ACAC. I went downtown and I saw what was going down there. I think you were down there. And I was downtown at 8/12 and I saw evil and sin that I'd never seen before. I seen machine guns. I seen people saying words that I thought were behind us, words that you probably have to deal with from time to time still today. I'm seeing folks in camouflage and army fatigue that you may see in a movie, not in real life. And you know what? 8/12 was I had a little PTSD after 8/12, a couple of months after. My wife said, you got to shake this off. You're going to go see a therapist or we're going to figure it out. And she helped me come up with the idea of launching the I Love Seville Network. She says, take everything you saw from 8/12 and all that stuff you're feeling and utilize some of these God-given talents, create a podcasting network, and welcome the Charles Lewises of the world, the Razor Robinsons of the world. Welcome the Mayor Walkers of the world, the Bellamy Browns, the Juan Diego Wades of the world. Welcome the stakeholders and the folks of influence, the Lloyd Snooks, the Michael Paynes of the world, onto your show and have real talk with them 5 days a week. And put it on social media and see what happens. And you know what happened?
Yeah, it worked.
It blew the hell up.
It works.
It blew the hell up. Yeah.
Now saying that, like, how important though is it to be empathetic or sympathetic, and Aaron and Patty chime in at any point, but you know, to a side that you may disagree with, right? Because we even face that a lot here when it comes to wanting certain questions asked or saying you should have responded a certain way to certain folks and whatnot. But one thing that we try to hang our hat on is that, like, we're gonna lay out the issue, right? Now, however you answer is how you answer. That's totally on you, right? Like, but we don't want any stone unturned. So, you know, and to be totally honest is like you're a white man, I'm Black man. I think we're pretty close to the same age.
Yeah,
right?
same age.
But in saying that, like, we have different views, we have different upbringings and whatnot. So the way I verbalize, the way I see things, and then the way I react to things, it's going to be totally different from you. Problem I see here in Charlottesville with the unification is that folks, there's too many that don't want to see the other side. Too many aren't empathetic to the other side. Like I just mentioned, the racial history that's here, right? And so instead of us being in the I'm right category, how can we, or do you even care to use your media platform of saying, you know what, I may not agree, may not even understand, but I need to at least try to.
I think,
what role does media play?
great question. I think we try to do that. Good example, the previous guest, Mayor Walker, we've invited her on the I Love Seville network 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. Said you have an open invitation to come on anytime you want. Dr. Bellamy, same thing. Juan Diego Wade, same thing. Our platform knows no color. Our platform knows honesty. Our platform talks real talk. We don't shy away from having the discussion where folks are listening that may make them feel a little awkward. And you know what? Feel a little awkward, that's the first step for change. Because if you're feeling awkward, hearing folks like us that have influence in this community talk about real talk, then you realize probably we should start thinking about changing what's making you awkward.
Now and I know Aaron has something, but when you say honesty though, whose truth though are we talking about? Because to invite, say, Mayor Walker or anybody else is one thing, but do you feel like that it would feel welcoming to everybody? Because you literally could send an invite to anybody, right? Like, but we do have somewhat of a responsibility for it to feel welcoming versus we feel like we're coming into alliance. And so whose truth exactly is important? You know what I mean? Because there could be multiple truths from multiple backgrounds.
I think anyone who comes on her show, in fact, I would say 99.9% of the people that come on our show leave the show saying, God, that was fun. And we say, we'll give you 20 minutes and it ends up being an hour. I don't have time constraints, no breaks. We just go straight. And I think anyone that comes on the I Love Seville show is going to leave feeling that this is a safe place. Now, I may disagree with you. And I may straight up say, I do disagree with you, but I'm going to do it in a way that's respectful. Like, as a talk show host, even if you disagree with your guests, you do it in a way where they feel like they're welcome and it's approachable and they want to come back. And that's how we run our joint too.
All right.
So you had mentioned Barack Obama, and I was just trying to listen, and you had mentioned the word relationship, and
I meant Trump, previous President Trump.
But you had mentioned Obama first. You mentioned Barack Obama first for 8 years, and then you mentioned President Trump. And I guess the question that I had for you was in reference to, you did say Obama. The question that I had for you is that in reference to race, it seems like Black people in this country have been talking about race for a very, very long time.
Sure.
It seems like based upon trauma or when things are seemingly, in my profession or my opinion, are affecting the white collective, now it wants to become some broader conversation. Why is it that it has to be, like you said, with the event that happened in 2017, or even with President Trump, that now this is a discussion amongst people classified as white? Black people, Charles and I have had it. We've been talking about this stuff for the last 30 years on our planet. Why do you think now it's something that we need to talk about?
I think it's the influence of social and digital media. People are more connected than ever before. People are more organized than ever before. People are more galvanized than ever before. People are ready to make change than ever before.
Okay, why weren't they ready to make change previously?
Well, I don't think outside of talking over the fence to your neighbor or going to the water cooler at work or having a beverage at the local watering hole, that there was that ubiquitous conversation happening. There wasn't that connection that was happening like there is now.
Yeah, and I agree with that, Jerry, but would you and I agree that the same things were happening?
Oh, no doubt.
Okay,
No doubt.
I'm just trying to get to it. You see where I'm going?
Yeah.
We want to talk about it now because it's being broadcasted, but we can solve some of these problems without it being on Facebook, without seeing Black trauma on IG, without President Trump being a jerk, without Barack Obama receiving hate mail, 800,000 letters. When people say have an honest conversation, it doesn't have to be broadcasted. But these are honest conversations we can all have amongst each other without the public seeing. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
That makes perfect sense. And an honest conversation like we're having right here is going to have an impact on the 5 of us. But if you have this honest conversation, you put it on the I Love Steve
Agreed.
network that reached 250,000 people last year, unique IPs, that honest conversation is going to have an exponentially larger influence and impact on the community.
Agreed.
So an honest conversation with 5 people could change the mindset of one of us. But if you and I have this talk on social, and then everybody's kind of like a bird on the wall listening to what we're saying, you're like, man, you know what? That dude made a great point that I didn't consider. And I should consider that. And I want to take that point and to weave it into my vernacular, it's my perspective and how I go about life.
Interesting.
But how do you know when you're having an honest conversation that is making a change as opposed to conversation that's happening in an echo chamber?
That's up to the community to decide. From my standpoint, we realize, myself and the team, the impact we have. We realize the reach we have, the massive following. We have the 3rd largest Instagram in the community. UVA is 1, the city of Charlottesville's 2, that's us. We realize that millennials and younger, they ain't sitting on a couch watching a box to get their news. They're addicted to this screen right here. The average person scrolling on social 27 times a day. The average person is using social media 8 hours a day. If you put content that's raw and authentic and real and honest on a screen this size, and then you allow millennials and younger, heck, I don't even want to marginalize the older population. Everyone's on social now. And you allow people to hear what is being said, both sides of the coin, that's going to have even more of an impact than seeing on the nightly news. We all know that.
Right.
Cool. So listening audience, we are joined by none other than Jerry Miller of I Love Seville. And if it's cool with y'all, let's go ahead and take a quick break and we will get right back to it, and because I think we laid the groundwork, we laid the foundation pretty well. So, in this next segment, let's see how deep we can dig into change that we can make, since we all are reps of our local media here right now, I think that's very important for us to leave here with from a good conversation and sort of a game plan, if you will, live on the spot, off top of the dome, Aaron, like you used to freestyle back in Queens.
Man, I had freestyle.
I would love to hear you freestyle.
See, now you've been disingenuous, Jerry. Now you've been disingenuous.
IMHO Talk Show. We are still here for you. Still making it do what it do. Aaron, Aaron, Patty, and our special guest right now, none other than Jerry Miller. And Jerry, so many different directions that we could take it. But before we dive back in the deep end, though, you did remind me, and apologies started to my head, not to my heart, but you did decide to run for a local office yourself. So sort of putting your money where your mouth is, right?
That's right. Look, that's exactly why. I mean, I talk the talk every day. Now I'm walking the walk. Running for Albemarle County Board of Supervisors, they're going to be asking you 50, 60 hours of work a week. They pay you $16,000 for doing that. Okay, it ain't about the money. It's about giving back to the community. And this community has been really good to me. I've been here 21 years, 13 plus as a businessman, and husband and father. And it's time to get back civically. And that's why I decided to do it.
Why'd you announce so soon?
I get that question all the time. And my response to that is, why not be prepared? Why not be prepared? So this is what happens when you announce soon. You get your platform out more, you meet more people, you raise more money, and you get to know the issues more. Why wouldn't anybody announce so soon? And interestingly, after I announced for Albemarle County Board of Supervisors, a couple weeks later, Steve Harvey of the Whitehall District on my show announced that he was going to run for re-election. And he's never been a seat on Board of Supervisors. He lost to Ann Mallett, but he announced on the I Love Seville network that he was going to run again for a second try. So I truly believe this. After doing what I did, it's going to have an impact on future races, and you're going to see candidates announced earlier than ever. Because my goal is to raise $150,000 from a fundraising standpoint. That will set an Albemarle County record from a fundraising standpoint for Albemarle County Board of Supervisors. I think that if I'm able to get elected, I'll be the second youngest supervisor in Albemarle history. And if I'm able to win, I'll do a 4-year term. And after 4 years is up, you know what I'm going to do, Patty?
What are you going to do?
I'm going to run for Congress.
Okay. I do have a question for
Please.
you regarding your media platform, because
Please.
earlier you said that you have such a large reach. Is there any conflict of interest, do you think, having the podcast network, I Love Seville, and then announcing so early that gives you an unfair advantage that others wouldn't have.
Yeah, it absolutely does. There's no doubt it gives me an exactly right. I'm gonna run this campaign like a business. I'm gonna corner the market, try to keep my competition from going against me. Every dollar that I raise, I'm gonna make it loud and boisterous and tell everybody about it. Every endorsement I get, I'm gonna let everyone know about it. And then I'm gonna ask the community, let's go, let's roll, let's boogie. You're gonna be challenging me. I got a 253,000 audience that follows me. And for 2 years prior to the race, I've been shaking hands, kissing babies. I've been going to the Mill Creek voting block, the Scottsville voting block, the Keswick voting block, and making my name heard. I put it in the work. I am putting it in the damn work. And I can say that one, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I can say that one. I'm putting in the work.
Hey, so now what's interesting, this kind of segues us, full circle, is a lot of times politics, that's around you getting in, is referenced as, the lesser of two evils. Like that's sort of what you have to pick. And you just talked about, honesty through your independent platforms. So are you fearful of a conflict of interest there?
No.
The political constituents to answer to?
Can you imagine a world of politics where our elected officials are more transparent? Can you imagine a world of politics where our elected officials let you know why they made policy decisions on social media? Can you imagine a world of politics where our elected officials are, this is why I'm doing this the next day they were on the dais or on the board of supervisors? As opposed to getting a 2-sentence quote or a 15-second soundbite, they leverage a long content platform to say, this is why I think this housing issue or this neighborhood is a good development, or this is what we need from a broadband standpoint. There's people in Albemarle County that still don't have reliable broadband internet. Say what?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have broadband internet in 2021. That's synonymous with not having running water 30 years ago, especially after COVID.
Agreed.
So, I mean, we're gonna head, Patty, into a world of politics where our elected officials down the road are gonna have to be more transparent than ever. Because the people like me that are being transparent during their campaign and hopefully when elected are gonna influence them to do just that. Don't you wanna know Ann Malik a little more? Don't you wanna know Juan Diego Wade a little more? Don't you wanna know Lloyd Snook a little more?
I would like to know all of them much more, but I think my concern is the idea of a monopoly over the media.
Ah, that's where you're going. Okay.
Not to say that you currently have a monopoly over media, but you did say you have such a large platform. And so I do wonder if, all things fair,
Life's not fair.
no, life isn't fair, but I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt.
Sure.
You being a fair person, and I don't know you personally, will you truly be transparent, or are you going to be putting out what you want people to see of you, which is what most people do with social media. No one is truly transparent.
Donna Price, you're the incumbent. If you're listening to this, Donna Price, Albemarle County Board of Supervisors, you're welcome to come on the show anytime you want. I'm looking at the camera right now for doing that. Donna Price, you can come on the show anytime you want to talk about your campaign and whether or not you're going to run for election in the Scottsville District of Albemarle County Board of Supervisors anytime you want, Donna Price. And as in regards to having a monopoly, I don't feel guilty for being successful. 13 years ago, I could not afford groceries. 13 years ago, when I launched this business and my life savings dwindled down to less than $2K, I had to invite my 2 best friends into my home to rent 2 bedrooms from me at $400 a month, $800 total. And if these 2 dudes didn't get in my home and rent these 2 rooms from me, I would have defaulted on my mortgage. I literally would have lost my crib. Now that crib is a rental property. That's damn near paid off. Okay, so I do not feel guilty for being successful.
And you shouldn't. You absolutely shouldn't, especially if you've worked hard to amass that success. My only question about that is just, how transparent will you truly be, and how honest will you be, and will you, you're here, clearly, so will you go to other platforms and preach that same transparency?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think, Jerry, the reason why she's mentioned that, and I think you would agree with me, is that we've had a history, not just you or just locally, but I'd even say globally, professional politicians making decisions that do not benefit the people they are representing. But all of a sudden we find out 10 years down the road, it was helping some sort of LLC, some sort of company, or anything of that nature. And so and I say this about all professional politicians, whether it's you, Black, Chico, Hispanic, it doesn't matter. It has to be in the benefit of the people and not only lining the pockets of the people that are running, if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. And that's why I think the transparency from social and our elected officials being transparent of where they stand is more than important than ever. Because this backroom dealing, this old boys club,
Which is all it is. That's all professional politics
is
is.
backroom dealing.
That's
Old boys club.
everybody,
Exactly right.
every single person.
Yeah. Let me throw this to you.
Mhm.
Board of Supervisors. You know what it has in common?
You don't know.
White old people.
So the difference is you're a white younger.
I'm a younger guy.
That's
Okay.
the only difference. You're
Okay.
a white man.
You know what else? You know what else it has in common? You know how many African Americans have been on the Albemarle County Board of Supervisors?
No, I don't.
One. Okay. So let me tell you this. We need to have more transparency than ever from our elected officials because of what you just said. We need to debunk this stigma of smoking cigar rooms and backroom dealing. And we need to have people that are the future, are the present and of the future, leading our community.
And the reason why I mention that is because as I don't forget about division, we are responsible for the results we see. People classified as white, people classified as Black. This is an entire community. So when we see poverty, that represents us. When we see a lack of wealth, that represents us. I don't like the fact that sometimes we try to separate ourselves from the problems that we see. This is a mirror in our community. Like you said, in 2017, this is who we are, whether we like it or not. And we have to address it honestly. I also like the fact that you talked about, because I'm a fairly successful person too, that you don't run from success. I understand you're in real estate. I always like to ask people that might know a little bit more than I do, give somebody a good real estate gem that's out there, something they should be looking for in the market.
Buy a home. You don't need 20% down to buy it.
Immediately.
You don't need 20, how about this? You don't need 20% down to buy a crib. Let's debunk that stigma that you need 20% down to buy a crib. You do not need 20% down.
We talk about that, guys, all the time.
You can buy a home without 20% down. Taking that first place that I had, where I almost lost because I couldn't afford the mortgage if my buddies hadn't moved in, business was that bad.
Mhm.
Okay, that spot is churning $1,500 a month. Now, you take that $1,500 a month, you don't spend it. My wife might have champagne taste, but I say, sweetheart, let's take that champagne taste and make it Andre, and not make it the $500 bottle. Let's do the $7.99 bottle, $7.99 bottle.
Okay,
Okay, $7.99, Patty, not the $5 bottle. $7.99. And you take that $1,500 and you throw it into another property, and then you do it again, and then you do it again.
We talk about that.
And you do it again. And then pretty soon you start going to a PO box and you get rent checks. And then when you go to PO box and you get rent checks, that opens up a little more freedom to your day to get civically involved from a politics standpoint, because the expectation is you have to work 50 hours a week for $16K. How many people in this community can work 50 hours a week for $16K? Well, very few.
Well, the problem is we have too many that actually are. And that's another issue.
That's another issue. Touche.
Is that we have
Yeah.
too many people that are actually working hard, and I'm in finance as well. And the wage gap and the wealth gap is getting so high to where it's becoming an issue. And also I try to even talk to people about increasing their skills, because we're going into a labor market to where now everything is just exponentially just growing. You know, you're a smart guy. 30 years ago, you could work in a factory, you could have a job, and you could support your family. Now, if you work in a factory, you might not be, that might even be considered poverty in some parts of this country.
You know what I'm terrified of?
Mhm.
I'm about to break the radio station right now. I'm terrified that Charlottesville's turning into a white rich playground. Think of, okay, no, I'll take it further for you.
Turn it
You're like-
into,
you're like, it already is.
I would say it already is.
I'll take it a step further.
That's an oxymoron to me.
I'll take it a step further. You want to see a step further? Okay, University of Virginia is admitting more students than it ever has. It has the most applications in UVA history this fall.
Mhm.
UVA is saying it's hiring more people than it ever has. You got major employers like Dexcom opening up shops in Dairy Market and bringing out-of-market talent. Realtor Magazine said the Charlottesville metro area, Realtor Magazine said the Charlottesville metro area is the second most popular area for baby boomers to move to. The neighbors across the street from me are working for DC, two DC firms. They sold their $1.2 million townhome. They bought a $800,000 house.
Mhm.
They banked $400K. They're making DC money, living in Charlottesville cost of living. and they just say
By the way,
400.
it's not that different. So I'm coming from the DC area,
Right, uh-huh.
looking to buy a home here, selling my home in Maryland.
Okay.
And the cost of living is very, very comparable. It is, when it comes to the housing market and things like that. But with what you're saying, what do you say to those people who probably feel like you? I won't apologize for my success. You know, they're successful. They probably feel that they worked hard, nothing was handed to them, and they probably are overlooking some of the privileges that certain people do have. What would you say to that?
I would say be empathetic, be mindful that there are others in this world that don't have the opportunities you have, and it's frankly maybe tied to the color of skin, right? Okay, be empathetic to others' plight, keep grinding and working hard, bust your tail. Dude, I grind 70, 80 hours a week. My wife calls this thing, my phone in my hand, for those can't see, the other woman. The other woman's name is Bambi. This is Bambi right here. And I'm on Bambi 10 to 12 hours a day, every day, 7 days a week, literally. Okay, so I understand that I have advantages that other folks do not. But I'm also gonna say this. I created a company from scratch, almost lost my house, overcame adversity, frankly had to steal Chinese food to feed myself and my dog. It got that bad.
I gotta know what you were stealing though. Was it
General
was it
Tso's,
okay,
baby,
at least-
fried rice, baby.
All right, get some shrimp and broccoli in there too.
Okay, that's why I don't feel guilty, Patty, because I know I put in the work.
Yeah. So Jerry, so to that point, exactly, is that, you know, like this brings us full circle, you know, as we sort of come to a close.
I love this show. I love this.
Thank you. It is that, you know what, let me preface that by saying that to me, and a lot of people believe that the most endangered and the most unprotected species on planet Earth is the Black woman.
No doubt.
So I need you, when I say that, so I need you, man to man, to understand that when you have strong Black women that are in leadership positions here within Charlottesville,
Oh, I like this.
a lot of times, we, especially as Black men, we should, if we're worth anything, Aaron, we will come to their defense, right? Doesn't mean you agree 100% on with that, right? So that's part to understand. But the other side, though, is that when you're talking about politics and your media platform, is you have a job to make other people understand too. And if I have any flack with your platform at all,
Please.
like was totally that it's sometimes there was things that could have, from my opinion, like they could have been squelched to bring understanding and to unify the community, because you have people in your comment thread that are making outlandish accusations. Some people may say that you even made, like, you know, certain statements, you know, like that may have been offensive to some.
Well, let's talk.
My point is, like, how, like, so whether politician or media, how are we going to bridge that gap? Because that's still a gap we have to bridge. As much honesty as I hear you saying, there's still a responsibility to where we have to respect the sides we disagree with.
Who was the rapper? It was the rapper, I think his name is Chiggy. And Chiggy said in one of his lyrics, I don't care if you're Black, white, Puerto Rican, or Haitian. And I don't care if someone is Black, white, Puerto Rican, or Haitian. I do care about their policy. I do care about how they lead. I do care about the rhetoric or the word choice that's utilized. Okay? And I know what you're going to and what you're alluding to. You're alluding to most recently the poem from the mayor. Okay.
Here's one example.
Okay. And why don't let's take a deep dive there. And I am unafraid to go down this road. Okay. The reason I held the mayor accountable with that poem is because this is supposed to be the champion of the community, the top elected dog of the community, right? Okay. And using sexually violent rhetoric, male ejaculatory rhetoric to describe the community, I found offensive.
Right.
And I utilized our platform to explain why I found that offensive. Now, from her standpoint, she's saying this is what I'm experiencing.
Right.
But once you become the mayor, the mindset shifts to champion and not divider.
So that reminds me of the conversation that Aaron was having earlier, though, of that, like to me, that's an A12 moment, if you will.
Okay.
It's an A12 moment
Please.
as far as being pivotal and creating an avenue for a new discussion. And so what I mean by that is that, like, there's experiences that make a person who they are and that make them feel like they need to express themselves a certain way. So to Aaron's point earlier is, why aren't we coming down on the people who attack her or attack the Black community or its agenda, like without reason or fault? It's just because they don't want them, to get to another level. But we wait until the mayor says something we don't like, and then we want to put her in the spotlight about how she verbalizes things. Like, why can't we address those issues that she was expressing before instead of highlighting what we didn't like?
I think the community is trying to address those issues,
Some of it.
but I think the community, frankly, if I was a teacher and had a grade, how we're working at addressing the issues, the community is getting a D+. Okay, the community is not addressing those issues well enough. Think about affordable housing. You know what affordable housing is in Central Virginia? It's a hot button choice of words for people to get elected to office. Affordable housing is a farce in Central Virginia, okay? The community is only getting more expensive from a housing standpoint. It's only getting more wealthy, it's only getting more white, and it's getting folks coming in from outside the area that are doing this because this area has so much to offer. I would love to see affordable housing be a true commitment. But let me ask you this. What has anyone on council done from an affordable housing standpoint from a huge impact?
Yeah, we talked about that previously.
Can anyone say,
We talked about that previously.
right?
Not just, and
Does
that's, and
anyone
not just,
disagree with me?
well, not just locally in Charlottesville. I'm just talking about in the United States. Period. Affordable housing is
It's a front.
it's a farce, and
Yeah.
it's a farce.
You disagree, Patty? Patty
No,
disagrees.
I don't disagree. I actually have a question for you, being the only Black woman in the room.
Yeah, please.
A comment that you made a few moments ago is that you don't care if someone's Black, Puerto Rican, Haitian, or whatever,
White.
or white.
Yeah.
I think that you should care because some of how we say things or how we, the way we see the world is influenced by that. So I understand that you see the world from a white male lens, which probably affords you the opportunity to not have to think about that, right? But as a Black woman who has been sexually assaulted, I was not offended by what the mayor said because I also understand, even though those words, the words that she chose are triggering, as a Black woman who navigates through places that have been racist towards me, I get where she was coming from. And my question to you is, before you went on your platform, did you speak with anyone, Black woman, Black man, to kind of try to understand where she was coming from when she made that comment?
Fantastic question.
That's important.
Fantastic question. My response to that is I had 13 women reach out to me anonymously and say that poem triggered emotions in them that they were still using therapy to try to navigate. I had 3 men reach out to me who were sexually assaulted and said the same thing. 16 people having the courage to reach out to someone they didn't know and say, this is what I felt from the poem. I stand with what you said on your show. And that's not to discredit or belittle how they responded. That's valid. They're anonymous though. Did you speak to a Black woman specifically? yes.
Okay.
Yes, multiple.
Okay.
Multiple, who said that this word choice triggered emotions that they're still navigating today.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that insight. Good conversation. Very good conversation. And if we don't want to leave any stone unturned, we may have to have, and so we may have to have you back because we only have a couple minutes left.
I can say as long as you need.
I got a light question for
Yeah,
you. No
I
heavy
love
hitters.
this.
No
I
heavy
love
hitters.
this.
So
Anything different?
I found you before coming to Charlottesville because you have I Love Seville, and I'm looking at the hashtags, right? And so I have caught a couple of episodes on Facebook Live. For as much as you love Charlottesville, there has to be something you don't like. Give us that.
That's
What
a
do
great
you
question.
not
Come on,
like
Jerry.
about Charlottesville?
I don't like that Charlottesville's turning into a white rich playground. I don't like that Charlottesville and Charlottesville is, and I love Seville as Central Virginia in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It's not just the 10.2 square miles. It's Central Virginia in a lot of ways. You go to North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, and you say you're from Albemarle County, everyone's like, what? Where? But you say you're from Charlottesville, and everyone's like, I know where that is.
Right.
And then they often reference 812.
Yeah.
Okay. So with our platform, I'm pointing out that among others, you guys as well, that outsiders that maybe didn't grow up in the community, haven't been here a long time, are moving here by the thousands.
Yes.
They're buying homes. They're driving up the cost of living. They're making it more expensive than ever. And as a father of a 3-year-old, my incredible fear is that this is going to be a homogenous community. And my little boy is going to grow up knowing no diversity, no eclectic thought process, and having no friends of different skin color. That's not how I grew up. Okay. And I saw this 9-pound, 1-ounce baby come out of my wife after 36 hours of labor in Martha Jefferson Hospital. And I saw her, and I'm sitting there holding my hand saying, you can do this. You can do this. You know what I was doing? Absolutely nothing. She was doing all the damn work, my wife. And after seeing this little boy come out of my wife, I realized the following. Women should rule the world. Women should rule the world. Okay? Women are stronger than men any damn day of the week. Second, this little boy that came out of my wife filled my heart in a way that I never knew I need filling. I mean, he gives me so much joy. I come home from working 9 or 10. I mean, I got goosebumps right now thinking about it. 9 or 10 hours a week, and the little boy runs up to you and says, hey, Daddy, I pooped in the tub today. And I'm like,
Nice.
he pooped in the tub.
I'm not the only
Adorable.
one with a 3-year-old.
You have a 3-year-old?
I do.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying, right?
And he does that.
Right? And he's so happy. And when
Yes.
he's so happy, I'm so happy.
Yes.
Like, I'm like close to crying right here.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, there's nothing more special than that.
Right.
So Jerry, my question to you is that the 2 questions. First, your feelings about your fears. Are you the exception, or does your majority feel the same way? Are they as fearful as you are?
God, I was hoping you would ask that question. That is the exact reason I'm running for board of supervisors. Because my fear is not only becoming a reality, but there's a large portion of the population that wants the trend to continue.
Right.
And that large portion of the population may want the trend to continue for financial gain. They may want the trend to continue because it's what's safe, because they're unsure of the unknown. But from my standpoint, we're all relatively the same age. It's up to us stakeholders, folks of influence, to reverse a trend that could be potentially damning to our future.
And then I guess the second question we'll finish up is that
This is fun.
how policy-wise, this is things that I'm sure you're going to get into, but keeping it from being a playground and then creating opportunities, what are some things? Because I know you got ideas.
I got 8 right here for you.
Okay, well, let's
that's
throw
great.
8 of them out.
Is y'all playing this?
Yeah, now I got 8. You ready?
That's why you got the mic.
8 tenets of my platform. Focus on new job and economic growth. I want the companies that are coming to this area to hire within the community and not to bring outsiders from outside the community to the area. I want them to hire within the community. That will help solve this equity issue we have. I want broadband internet for everybody. There are kids and families in Albemarle County, one of the richest counties on the East Coast, that do not have reliable broadband internet. That is atrocious. I want housing in Albemarle County to be a focus. And how we make that a focus is by allowing the stakeholders on the supply chain of housing, give them a louder voice and let them explain what's happening. Did you know a $400,000 house in the city of Charlottesville, Albemarle County, 24% of that $400,000 is tied to regulatory red tape? 24% of the cost of a home is tied to the developer having to do red tape mumbo jumbo with the municipality.
Right.
Think about that. Think about that. Okay. So housing, we have to listen to the stakeholders. How about this? My kid's 3. We did that soccer hot shots program. And my kid, because of COVID, we didn't put him in preschool right away. Okay. He's going to start this fall. He stayed home with mom. We had that luxury. And I know that's a luxury. All the other kids, Penny, on the team, they were in preschool. So when the coach at the first soccer practice said, everybody sit on the spot and listen to coach, he'd never been in that setting before. My little boy was by the fence picking dandelions and trying to point at his brain through his nose. And I'm sitting here doing like, what is going on here? And it's because of early access education. He was not in there. Now we had the option to pay for it, but it was fear because of COVID that we did not. But I saw there the value of early access education in soccer practice. Okay?
No, Jerry,
Okay.
we're up against time.
Okay, sorry.
So can you just give us the bullet points?
Sure. The last few bullet points, I'm just passionate. I'm
You
sorry.
good.
Okay, it's reliable transportation.
Uh-huh.
We need to get people getting to the epicenter of employment much more reliably. Sports and sports tourism to drive incremental tax revenue. Guys, remember growing up, we used to go to soccer tournaments outside the area, sports tournaments outside the area. There ain't no soccer sports tournaments in this area. Tourists come to this area with sports tournaments with open wallets, and then they don't tax our roads and schools. They leave. Why aren't we emphasizing sports tournaments as a way to drive new and incremental tax revenue for Albemarle County? Also, cyclist, runner, and walker safety. Last month, we had someone die hit by a car and a bicycle on Ivy Road. We have to prioritize runners, cyclists, and walker safety in Albemarle County. And finally, this is a topic for Charlottesville tomorrow. For you, Charlotte, I see you, Charlotte. Your content is amazing, Charlotte. There's 1,200 acres in the urban ring right next to Wegmans called Biscuit Run Park. And for 21 years, that park has been doing nothing. It's been doing absolutely nothing. Not 21 years. 2008, Hunter Craig and his investors were bailed out by the state. So 13 years and change. Why do we have a 1,200-acre park? To put it in perspective, Walnut Creek Park and Preddy Creek Park combined, those two parks combined do not even equal the size of Walnut Creek Park. Why the hell do we have 1,200 acres doing nothing for Albemarle County? Albemarle County is paying to maintain this park, yet not allowing people in Central Virginia to go and use the park. Explain that to me.
Valid point.
That's my platform.
Thank you for those points. You know what?
I love
Even
this.
somebody doesn't agree with you. You are definitely energetic about it.
I'm sweating. I'm passionate.
It is happening.
Talk it out. It's like 85 degrees.
He's got the hair off. He's got the hair off.
No, but Jerry, thank you for joining us. I hope that the people can appreciate what we did today. And this was just an olive branch. And we look forward to continuing the conversation from mano to mano as well as media to media. Want to
Anytime you want.
like
I
just
love this.
request, yeah, and just request that we, be respectful and responsible enough to try to hear and understand the other side.
Sure.
Right.
We should do this. I'm spitballing with you on live air.
Okay.
We should do in my humble opinion day on the I Love Seville network,
Okay.
and an I Love Seville day on in my humble opinion.
How much money are we talking, Jerry?
$0. Absolutely $0. In fact, I'll have water. I got a full bar at work, and we can have some sandwiches from the market next door.
I don't fall for it. He's slick. He's trying to monopolize. This is gonna be Alex Siegel before you know it.
No, I am not. I mean, it's 85 degrees in here. I don't know if I can make this. I love Seville on here.
Right. Hey, but no, until next time, Jerry, thanks once again. And we'll be in touch.